Hi, welcome back to my channel. I have the tower block DIYs that you guys requested. So for each letter, I would say get 2 of these larger tumbling tower block packets. For the first letter, I start off, make a row of 15 blocks and glued them together, and then I made 4 of them. And then I'm going to glue these together in a square. And you can put the blocks any direction you want. So 2 blocks are going to go 2 rows of blocks are going to go on the outside, and then you fit the other 2 in the middle. And this glue is the Dollar Tree super glue, and it holds really fast, so just hold it for a few seconds and then it should stay in place. Next, I glued 4 blocks along the bottom of this piece. I had to speed the video right up for this so that I could show you exactly how I place all the blocks to make the letter R. So this is how I decided I wanted it to be, and then I'm just placing the ones for the outside for the bottom of the planter. I decided to make it this size, but you can make it any size you want. Just play around with the blocks and see, like, you might even come up with a better way of making an R. And if you do, let me know, tag me on my Instagram so I can see. Next, I glue the blocks onto the front and they use the back as a guide. You can see where they're supposed to go. And then I just hold each one in place for a few seconds so that it'll stay. And then once I've got all the blocks on, I do finish it off camera, I turn it over so that the blocks will stay in place and not fall down. And then I stained it with the Waverly Antique Wax. Let me know what you think. I just used some succulents from Dollar Tree and Walmart. And for the S, I just laid the tower blocks out in an S shape, and then I started arranging them to make them neater. And I'm trying to make all these letters the same height and width so that if you wanted to make your initials, then they would be the right size. And then I just started putting the tower blocks where they would be along the sides and on the undersides. And I had to speed up the video just so I could show you exactly where I put all the blocks. And this is me just figuring it out. I haven't made any of these before, and I did take away a block from either end of the S because I thought it looked better, but you could leave those extra ones on if you wanted to. But I wanted to make more space for the succulents or whatever you want to put in it. And then I just started gluing these on the front like I did for the R, and then I turned it over to wait for all the glue to dry. And off camera I finished gluing all those to the front, and then also off camera I stained this with some Waverly Antique Wax. And I just filled it with some succulents from Walmart and Dollar Tree. And a lot of people asked me for R and S, so I hope that you guys like them. For this next DIY, it's really just staining these 2 plaques from Dollar Tree with some Jacobean coloured stain from Minwax. And all I'm going to do is take the Dollar Tree super glue and glue the letters that I just made onto the plaques. It was my friend Karen's idea to make these into bookends, so that's why I'm gluing them to the plaques. But you could glue the plaques just if you just wanted to have one letter just standing up, because it would make them more sturdy. So for the V, I just let you guys watch how I placed all the blocks, and I glued it together off camera, and I was trying to make all these letters without having to cut the tower blocks, but for this letter V I had to. So I got this wee saw from Amazon, and if you would like to get the same one, there's a link in the description down below. So I just sawed off the part sticking out, and it fits perfect into the space that's already there next to it. So I just glued the pieces in place, and then I glued the blocks along each side on the outside. And then I just did the same as the other letters. I started gluing them to the front, and then when I finished doing that, I turned it over until they had set. Sometimes the blocks don't fit, so you just have to keep trying until you find one that will. Then I started gluing the blocks along the inside. I painted the outside with some Waverly Antique Wax, and then I painted the inside with some white Waverly chalk paint. I put some Mod Podge on the white parts, and I got this tissue paper from Dollar Tree a long time ago, so I thought I'd use it up. And I just place it over the Mod Podge, and I use some cling film, or you guys would call it plastic wrap, but we call it cling film in Scotland. You just scrunch it up, and then you smooth out the tissue paper. And then I did one half of the V, and then I did the other half afterwards, because the Mod Podge dries quite quickly. And I smooth it out again, and then once it's dry, I take an X-Acto knife and I cut away all the edges. And then I use a bit of sandpaper to sand off the rough edges of the paper at the top and on the inside of the V. And I did give it another coat of Mod Podge, but you don't have to do that. And to make this one stand up on its own, I put some Dollar Tree rocks in the bottom, and then I decorated it with some succulents and reindeer moss, and I love this one. I wish to use my initial. Starting again with the 4 sets of 15 blocks, I'm just going to make a square shape with them like I did for the R, and this is going to be a P, so it's basically just doing the same thing as I did for the R without the legs sticking out on the bottom. So next I just lay out the blocks, and then off camera I glue them all together, and I forgot to film me gluing them on the front, but you've already seen me do it a few times now, so you know what you have to do. And then I stained it with some Jacobean coloured wood stain by Minwax, and I have some gem tack and some the pearl stickers from Dollar Tree, and I decided just to put one on each ends of the blocks. and this is it finished. I used blue succulents from Walmart and the reindeer moss from Walmart. And to make the J, I laid the blocks out in a J shape, and then I just do the same thing, just fill in the blocks along where you want them, along the bottom and along the sides, glue it all together, and then glue them on the front. And off camera, I stained it with the Waverly Antique Wax and I painted the front white, and I had this tissue paper for a while from Dollar Tree, so I'm just going to Mod Podge it on the front like I did for the V. And then I did the same steps as I did with the V. I smoothed it out with some cling film, and then once it was dry I took the X-Acto knife and cut off all the excess, and I didn't Mod Podge the front of this one though. And then I took some sandpaper and sanded off the rough edges. And then I decided to glue 2 pearls on each end of the blocks you can see going along the sides. And I think this turned out so pretty. I used some succulents from Walmart. Let me know what you guys think. Maybe give me some other ideas on how I can decorate these letters. So again, I just did the same thing for the Z, but I made it backwards, because now that I've made a few of them, I'm working out better ways to make them. If you want it to be really flat on the front, to put the tissue paper on, then I would make them back to front so that you get a really smooth surface. And if you're just staining them out, it doesn't really matter. But if you want a really smooth surface on the front, then make them the opposite way around. And once you've got the shape of your letter, the rest is easy. You just put blocks along the edges and on the underneath sides. But you could make it a solid letter if you wanted and put blocks around the entire thing. And you can also hang these on the wall if you wanted to make them wall planters. But this is my Z, and I put zebra print tissue paper on the front, and I used some of the coloured succulents that I found in Dollar Tree, and the big one is from Walmart. So for the D, I just made the same 15 block square for the side, and then I laid them out in this pattern, but I'm not entirely happy with it, so I might redo it and see if I can come up with another way of doing the D. The last block I put on there, I feel like I shouldn't have put it there, but you guys can leave that out if you want. I just think it looks a bit weird. So you can let me know what you think, and maybe I'll try making another D for the next video. And I just did the same thing, just gluing all the blocks in place. Off camera I painted it with some moss Waverly chalk paint, and then I dry brushed it with the ivory chalk paint. And I got this plant from IKEA, and I want to do something a little bit different, so I decided to hot glue it going over the front of the D, and it gave it like an enchanted forest kind of look, fairy tale look. So I got a wee unicorn from Dollar Tree, and my son hates when I tell people this, but if you don't know, the unicorns are from Scotland and it's our national animal, and it's even on our passport. And here it is, it looks a bit plastic, so I painted it with the ivory chalk paint, and I did paint the horn with the purple paint, but then I decided to do the Waverly Valley slipper and added some crystals and some succulents. So let me know what you think, and thanks for watching, and I'll see you again soon.